So today is just day 2 of, again, I'm out doing driving as I'm onboarding 2 new drivers. So I'm looking for a vacation on Friday, and I'm gonna enjoy because I've been feeling it quite a bit. So I'm working on putting systems in place. And again, this series or these videos are just to be about people that have interest in medical transportation. It's officially known as non-emergency medical transportation, because you're not transporting people to the ER, you're not picking them up and taking them to the hospital in terms of emergency surgery services. This is simply taking them to doctor's appointments, dental, mental health, physical therapy, a lot of dialysis. Not as many cancer patients, thank God, but there are cancer patients, and we're just talking about in my area, so in some areas there may be plenty. So we're going to pick up where we left off yesterday and talk about deadhead miles. That's miles that you do not get reimbursed for. And this typically happens when you're going to get a client, right? So this particular client that I'm picking up this morning is going to be about 20 to 25 miles outside of the city, meaning I'm driving out of my area, my preference area, because again, you want to mitigate as many deadhead miles as you can, because you are not reimbursed for those miles. So the 20 miles that I'm driving out to get this particular client is literally like throwing money in the wind. So that is something we've talked about with the state, and also what brokers we work with. You know, hopefully eventually that will change, because that adds up, and they like for you to, if you're saying that you're working in a particular county, like for me, I live in Monroe County, and then I added some of the closer surrounding counties. They like for you to go do those rides. Well, let's say like today, this particular client, she lives out of the city, right? So I got to drive like 20 to 25 miles out, not getting reimbursed for my time or my gas on this, right? Irritating. But this particular client I kept because the majority of her, 90% of her appointments are back in the city of Rochester, which adds up, and they end up typically being pretty decent rides. But on days like today, she is going maybe 8 miles down the road from her home. So this ride really is not money. You know, you're not. I may make, and I'm gonna throw numbers out there. They're not gonna be exact, but I won't be like a lot of people and not give people information, because I think that gatekeeping keeps a lot of us from growing. And then not only that, you know, this is, I don't mind helping people because I don't print this money, honey. I'm just trying to get to it. That's it. I don't print it, but I'm trying to make as much of it as I can. And if I can help someone along the way, I literally don't mind. And I am going to be doing a webinar on medical, how to get started, and it'll be geared towards New York State, but a lot of the other things I'm going to talk about is going to apply to any state. Just back end stuff that will help you run your business more efficiently, will mitigate some of the losses that I took because I wasn't prepared and didn't know what I was doing. I literally was just figuring it out as I go. The paperwork and stuff may be different in different states, honestly. And New York State literally is the hardest state to do business in, because of all the red tape and the paperwork and the outdated systems and things you have to do, except for medical transportation. Believe it or not, it's not hard to get started. The other states have way more processes in place, things that you have to complete to actually get approved and get started. So, shocker for New York State, because usually they make everything super hard. And I started about 5.5 years ago, and I know people that has recently onboarded, and it has gotten harder, a little harder, more paperwork, more steps. Because when I started, it really wasn't that. It was just an application. Waiting on the approval part was the longest. You get your insurance, you figure out what vehicles you're going to use, get you some drivers, and off you go. Learn how to bill. E-Paces, which is the Medicaid billing system, and you're off to the races. So now they are requiring people to do a little more, all right? And you do have to do more for wheelchair service. Like, you gotta have your wheelchair vans, they have to meet ADA standards, and then there's some more things also in that checklist. You have to have, the vehicle has to be annually inspected. You got to keep maintenance logs. Like, there's more steps to doing wheelchair service, but it is more lucrative. So, you got to pick where you want to start. I advise people, just because, like anything else, you're still learning and there's a learning curve. Unless you have someone teaching you and walking you through the process step by step. And when I say the process, people automatically think I mean business. I mean medical transportation. But remember, you're going to be, unless you're going to maintain a full-time job, and even in that case, because I worked this whole time, because I looked at this as additional income, but really it was a whole business. Because once we built up a certain clientele, then we 2, 3, 4, 5 years in, we're building that clientele, we're maintaining the clients that we have, and it's growing, and I'm still trying to work. So a lot of my back office stuff is going undone. I don't even know if undone is the word, but it wasn't being kept, meaning our books and things that I should have been tracking in order for us to know our true numbers, all those things. So back office things. So that's going to be important. All right, so back to this deadhead that I just did. All right, so I'm almost at the client's house. So I started recording right after I started. So as you can see, I'm probably about 5 minutes away. So it's not that bad. But I didn't get paid for the miles coming out here. And again, this was really just to talk about deadhead miles, so you know what that is and ways to mitigate that. And honestly, if you're saying you want to do a county and it's out of area, like out of your county, those rides are going to be good pay, but you got to factor in your deadhead miles. And if you're paying a driver, for me, like today, I'm not going to take this client 8 miles down the road out here where she lives, in the area that she lives, and then drive back to the city. I have other drivers on the ground that are starting out around 8 o'clock. It wouldn't make sense for me to drive all the way back to the city. Now, I have done it, well, for two reasons. When I didn't know any better, because I really was losing money on those rides. And then 2, when there was a situation, there's just not enough staff to have a staff come sit and wait for her at this appointment. So today, rather than have my staff, my other drivers come out here and sit and wait, I came. Again, this is the way I mitigate losses for me, and I have to make it make sense for me. I'm going to take her to her appointment, like I said, which is literally 8 miles down the road, and I'm going to wait for her. So from beginning to end, the drive in and the drive back to the city and sitting here waiting for her when her appointment can be anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour, that's 2 hours worth of time. That's going to be 2 hours. So do I want to pay a driver that? And I'm asking these questions. I'm posing these questions to people that are going to get into medical transportation or are in it, new to it, those type of things. Now, do I want to pay a driver or potentially 2 to 2.5 hours? Because I'm going to sit and wait, because it doesn't make sense to lose time and money. Like, I'm not going to waste 30 minutes going back to the city when I have, other drivers to do that. And then gas. Why would I? That's going to be costly if you don't mitigate that every time it happens. Same thing happened yesterday. I had to drive maybe 35 minutes out of the city, which I tried to mitigate that as much as possible, because again, we're talking probably almost 30 miles of deadhead miles that I had to go out. But again, this is a client that I met a few weeks ago, and I'll I like her. She's a single mom. She's struggling with a lot of things, and she specifically asked me to come back and pick her up. She was like, "Can you send the driver?" I'm cool. I don't have to tell people that it's my business. That's an ego thing. Like, literally, it could care less. As long as the check clears, that's what I care about. So if she think I'm the driver, a driver in the company, I just let her think that. All right, but I did agree to go back and get her. And again, I was short staffed yesterday. That ended up going back and forth. Definitely probably 2.5 hours. Do I want to pay a driver to go somewhere and sit for 2.5 hours? Because most companies, and I can tell you this as something to think about when you're starting yours, they keep drivers moving, meaning they only have them sitting around waiting on clients to come out of their appointment in situations where they're short staffed, or it is a situation like this. Like today, I'm going to sit out here and wait on her because it makes more sense, and I'll be time effective and cost effective by just two things: doing it myself because I had time today, and then waiting on her because I'm not paying a driver. Because again, this is one of my regular clients. So on the rides like this where I come out here to her and she's going in her own town, I don't necessarily make money on those rides. You know what I'm saying? The only thing I can be hopeful about is writing off the expenses and taxes. But outside of that, I don't really make money. And then if I was paying a driver to come out here today, literally I made $0. So we'll talk more about deadhead miles. I just wanted to chime in and, share things as they're happening in real time so I can make sure that I'm sharing meaningful information. And also, when I do a webinar, these are some of the things that we'll talk more in depth about. And, it's, again, to help people make sure their business is profitable, for one, and that they're not making rookie mistakes. And most people are not going to give you the information to keep you from making rookie mistakes. And if you're starting out, it's hard, and you don't want to be starting out in a losing situation. You're losing money starting out. You want to start out in a situation where, you're making some money until you build up your clientele, until you put in systems that work. All right. Happy Monday. Oh, Wednesday, guys. Yeah, it is early. It's like 8 o'clock, and I don't even get up this early. I normally don't even get out of bed to 8. So, we'll see how it goes. Today is a great day to be great.